Hello and welcome to another episode of Set Musings. As you can see from what's on the screen, we're now up to Apocalypse, the third set in the invasion block. So, themes and mechanics to watch out for in this block. We've got disciples, envoys, flag bearers, sanctuaries. There's some siphon creatures, which I'll explain what that actually is. Split cards are here, something called revolvers, and kicker is in the set. Now the set had 143 cards in it, as you can see up here. 55 commons, 44 uncommons and 44 rares. One thing I'm going to do before I dive in, you'll see in a moment there's a bit of a tribal theme going on. So it's always curious, I think, if I change the sort here to rarity, I'm just curious as to what creature types are turning up at the lower rarities. Because you'll see why in a moment once I get onto the first cycle. Well, that's critical. So you can see here we have a soldier and these cards which are I think called flag bearers, which we'll come on to as well later. What else have we got? We seem to have a lot of wizards in the set. Elf merfolk, goblin soldiers. You can see two colour is a thing. And in this set, what you're going to see, previous sets in the block, we've seen allied colours. We're now going to see more enemy colours be a thing. Caboose, ship. Now, of course, some of these creature types may have been oracle altered later on. Minotaur, zombie elf, cat wizard zombie, zombie druid, soldier zombie, horror, merfolk goblin, some merfolk there, ape, and another wizard. Another flag bearer, Kavoo, elf. So this will be the last of the commons. We get to the uncommons. And the reason why I bring that up is obviously when you're drafting or you're playing sealed, you will see more commons than you see anything else. That's going to have an impact in a moment. And the impact it might have is with these cards. So what you have here, I think they're referred to as envoys. We've seen this sort of thing before. So with this particular template, you've got one of each of the 5 colours because it's a cycle. The white one's a soldier, the blue one's a merfolk, the black one's zombie, red is goblin, and green is elf. So yeah, it's no surprises there. It's a sort of tribal tribes you'd expect to see. And each one of these, you can see, although there might be other abilities on here, this ability here on the cards. So when, name of the card, comes into play, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all soldier cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. Now obviously, when I tend to do these set reviews or set musings, as I prefer to call them, I'm tending to look through the lens of limited, like sealed or draft, and the set as on its own. But obviously you can see where this might be useful if you started delving into other sets around that time, particularly sets with a tribal theme around these particular tribes. So anyway, these are all uncommon as well. So something to think about if again you're playing limited with this set. So we're diving straight into 2 colours here. We've got a cycle of enemy coloured 2-drops, And you can see, no surprise here, they've got combinations of those tribes we've previously seen. And all one of these are a CMC of 2, and they have the 2 enemy colours in them. Pretty simple. And this is in opposition from a similar cycle in Invasion. And you can see as well the abilities on here aren't necessarily consistent, like the green-blue one's got flying, the red-white one has activated abilities to do with sacking it. We've got the black-green one here, which can generate black mana. This one does 1 damage. It's a pinger. And this one says whenever it deals damage, choose one. Each player loses 1 life, or each player gains 1 life, which makes sense for a white-black creature. So next up, we have enemy colour non-creatures. Mixed bag here. You've got 3 auras and an instant and a sorcery. And there's no real constant templating here in terms of the various effect, but it's more to do with the combination of the colours. And you can sort of see the search here, what that's built on. So they're all at common. They're all not creatures. That's what -T means in, that's -type in Scryfall. And they're all 2 colour. And you get the cycle. So at uncommon there's a cycle of enemy colour permanence. So there's 1 enchantment, the rest are all creatures. Again, no real consistency in the templating of the abilities, but obviously this ability is relevant to the particular colour. Some you can see have like a non-colour activated ability. You can pay something else, like this one, pay 2 life. They trigger for a different reason. So this one, whenever this creature attacks, it gets +3, -3. So hence it's got flowstone. We've seen flowstones before where you get this lopsided power toughness boost and demotion. And this one's got an ETB on it. But again, the commonality here is that they're all uncommons. They're either a creature or an enchantment, and they're 2 colour. Here's our split cards from the set. Again, you can see they're in the enemy colours. So Night and Day, Fire and Ice, Life and Death, Order and Chaos, Illusion and Reality. And they're all going to be instants or sorceries. There's a cycle of rare non-basic lands, enemy colour pain lands. So they all can just generate colourless mana. If you do want to use either of the enemy colours to generate mana, then that's going to deal you 1 damage. So here's our disciples. I think I'd mentioned these at the top of the episode. And you'll notice now we've now moved into 3 colours if you include the activated abilities here. So all of these activated abilities, you have to pay a single colour of the appropriate mana and tap it. They're all creatures. They're all at common. And you can see they all cost 1 of the appropriate mana to cast. And they have 1 each of the corresponding enemy colour to that colour. So interestingly enough, that means you're getting, if you look at this, you're now getting these. Previously, well, we've seen 3 colours in this block. It's been a shard. This is now wedge. This is now a wedge colour combination. And you can see the 2 enemy colours. So black and red are in opposition to white in terms of enemies, but they're allied. So black and red, allied colours, red, green, green, white, white, blue, and blue, black. And of course each of these imparts an appropriate on-colour ability for that particular colour. So using this as an example, we've got Necro Disciple, single black to cast, green tap it, you get to add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool, white and tap it, prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn. And the same is true of the other cards. Now I'm looking here, it's interesting because it looks like they very cleverly got overlapping. So you can see, because these are in the right order, it's easier to see, or colour order. So here's the red one, is the same ability as the red one on here, green one, the green one on here, white one here, and blue one here, and then the green one. So there's a nice, interesting piece of symmetry there on that particular card. So yeah, or cycle of cards. So we have a set of sanctuaries. They're all regular enchantments. They're all uncommon. Again, actually I haven't had to do anything beyond the sanctuary because they all had sanctuary in the title, so it's pretty easy to search. So let's look at the first one. So it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a black or red permanent, you gain 2 life. So again, there's this wedge-shaped synergy here with the colour and then its corresponding enemy colours. So if you control black or red permanent, you gain 2 life. If you control a black permanent and a red permanent, you gain 4 life. So for each one, if you control one or the other, you get 1 thing, but if you control both colours, then you get something better. So this one loses 1 life, but if you've got both, 3 life. And again, we've seen this scaling in the block where, you know, if we have 1 thing, you get this. Oh, if you got this, then you get something a little bit extra. And you also see that with Kicker as well, which is in the set and in the block. And you have here, you know, green, no surprise to see a triggered pump spell. So, and they all trigger at the beginning of your upkeep. So that's pinging. What have we got here? Bouncing. And that's life. So life gain, bounce. Oh, hang on. No. Sorry. Life gain, card draw. Why did I say bounce? I meant card draw. Card draw. Life depletion, pinging, and pump. So these are the Volvers, not the Volvos, but the Volvers. You can see they're all at rare. They all have Kicker, and again, it's a wedge-shaped colour relationship. So white, black, red, blue, red, green, black, green, white, red, white, blue, and then green, blue, black. The Kicker cost, you can see, is also the same here. So it's colour, 1 of any colour, and the colour, or just the colour for the appropriate enemy colours. And then again, depending on what Kicker cost you paid, you get a different thing here. So is this, I'm just looking at this, it's always interesting to see where this is pushing you. Each of which increases its power and toughness and does something else. So on this one, what have we got? We got 2 +1/+1 counters on it and has pay 3 life regenerate. If we play the white, the one and the black. If you paid the red kicker cost, it comes into play with +1/+1 and it has first strike. So yeah, that makes sense. You pay the slightly higher cost in one colour, then you get more pump and a slightly different ability than the other colour, which has a slightly lower casting cost, so you get less of a pump and you get a slightly different one here. Now I'm looking here, and not surprisingly you can see this, I don't know what you'd call that, where there's sort of the ability on one card is the corresponding colour ability on another card is adjusted with the +1/+1 counters, but if you look, it's the same sort of thing. So we'll look at another one here. Yeah, so this one here, look, on the white one where it's just a single red, you've got a single +1/+1 counter and first strike. On this one, which is on the blue one where it's 1 and a red, you get 2 +1/+1 counters and first strike. So essentially what you're getting is, for the extra mana of any colour, you're getting an extra +1/+1 counter. But yeah, it's interesting how they've done that. Oh look, 3 colour wedge spells. Fervent Charge, Guided Passage, Overgrown Estate, Lightning Angel, Fungal Shambler. Yep, they're all 3 CMC and they're all 3 colour. So, oh, and they're all rare. But you can see big differences. The white, black, red ones, an enchantment. This one is a sorcery, another enchantment, a creature, and yeah, so 2 creatures, 2 enchantments, and a sorcery. All all have some sort of well, in the case of creatures, an additional ability, but they're all different in the effect they have. So now we have some vertical cycles, and you'll see that some of these tend to be in the same colour, which is usual with a vertical cycle. Although sometimes you get these very broad vertical cycles which go up and across, so they might be in, say, a couple of colours, but I'm not too sure in this set. We'll see as we go through. We're going to slice and dice this setup in other ways as well. At the moment we're mainly concentrating on cycles, as I usually do. So the ones here, so Bloodfire Colossus, Bloodfire Dwarf, Bloodfire Infusion, Bloodfire Kavu. So what have we got? We've got, maybe that's easy to see, one common, I won't say one red, one rare, start again, 1 rare, 1 uncommon, and 2 commons. The penumbras are a vertical cycle in green. Now let's actually look. Let's go back to this. I'm just curious here. So yeah, so these Bloodfires, they all have an activated ability on them of a single red. There's actually also a limitation on this one as well. So the green ones, which are the penumbras, you can see what they do is they put tokens into play. Specifically, some creature in black, which is a version of itself. So what's happening is when this is triggered, obviously it puts it into play, but it's a death trigger. So whenever it's put into a graveyard from play, you get, the same creature back, but in black instead of green. That's pretty thematically interesting. So these were the siphons. They're also all Phyrexian, and they're all black spells. They have an effect that lets you draw cards at the cost of life. So one's an enchantment and two are creatures. So this one triggers at the beginning of your upkeep. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. These ones are ETBs. Vertical cycle of whirlpools. And they're ETBs on them. So when it comes into play, shuffle the cards from your hand into your library, then draw that many cards. These two here, the higher rarity ones, so the uncommon and the rare, have an additional ability on them. The Whirlpool Drake, when it's put into the graveyard from play, shuffle the cards from your hand into your library, then draw that many cards. So it's a repeat of the ETB. It also has flying. This one, there's a red cost and then sacrificing it. Each player shuffles the cards from his or her hand into his or her library, then draws that many cards. Okay. We're seeing some interesting vertical cycles here, maybe things we've never seen before. A mirrored pair of Desolation. I don't always do these because, sometimes we'll see this when we go through the set as a whole. But there was only one of these, so it's fairly easy to find it, as it had the same name or same word in the name, Desolation. Okay, so here's all the kicker cards. So 13 cards, many of which we've seen already. So you can see there's a bit of a variety here in terms of the kicker costs. So we've already seen these ones that have kicker costs in the enemy colours. There are some ones here which just have a single enemy colour casting cost, so you don't get that wedge or those wedges. There's the two, there's a mirrored pair there. And then we've got other ones here which are just the kicker cost incorporates the colour of the casting cost. So Dwarven Landslides like that. Here's another one with a kicker cost in just one of the enemy colours. And then here's one with just a kicker cost of any colour. Mana of any colour. Oh look, spend only coloured mana on X. No more than 1 mana of each colour may be spent this way. So there's what echoes, is it Domain, I think is the name of that sort of concept of how many different colours you're playing, although there's no, it's just saying you can't, there's a restriction on there. So these were a thing. These were so-called flag bearers. Now, what I've done is, if you look here, you've got an enchantment and 2 creatures. So these creatures are actually flag bearers. This enchantment makes a creature a flag bearer. So it's got here, if an opponent plays a spell or ability that would target a flag bearer in play, that player chooses at least 1 flag bearer as a target. And this gives that ability to any creature. But it can only enchant a creature you control. So here I've done a slice. I just wanted to sort of show how many monocolour cards there were in the set. So there's 90 where there's a single, I say monocolour, sorry, where the casting cost here is a single. Now obviously the abilities might be in another colour, but the card itself in terms of the casting cost is in a single colour. And of course it gets complicated here because there's so many different combinations to look at. So these are either monocolour or they're monocolour castings with a activation cost that is in a different colour, or the same colour. So there's 35 2-colour cards, many of which we've seen already. Interesting Vindicates in this set. Very Star Wars. And again, quite a few of these we've seen already. But I just want to give you some idea numerically which of these had the... I think it gets confusing because sometimes these get referred to as gold bordered, but gold borders means something else. So yeah, and you can see down here we've also got the those split cards have come up as well because they're 2-colour. 3-colour, which we've seen already. There's 5 of those, and that forms part of that cycle. They're the only 3-colour cards in the set. And then 5-colour. There's no 4-colour, which most people know at this point in Magic's history. There weren't 4-colour cards. There were later, and we'll get there at some point. It's a bit far off yet. So there were a couple of 5-colour cards in here: Chromat and Last Stand. Just a quick look at the instance in here. Let's make sure I've ordered this by colour. So there's 15 instances in the set, and as I mentioned before, it's always interesting to see, you know, the usual instant speed stuff that you see, like counter spells and the sort of damage that white might do and the sort of damage that red might do, and how they manifest and are twisted in the set to do certain things. So we've got things like a counter spell in here, 1 on the blue, counter target spell if it shares a colour with a creature you control. There's another one here, Evasive Action, which is 1 on the blue, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 for each basic land type among lands you control. So you can see there's echoes of that. I'm pretty sure it's called Domain, even though it doesn't mention it. See, my memory's terrible. I only did those episodes a week ago, and already I'm having trouble with certain keywords. It's Prophetic Bolt. An interesting combination spells you get here. So Suffocating Blast, counter target spell, and Suffocating Blast deals 3 damage to target creature. So in a 2-coloured set as well, like instant speed stuff that you normally see. When you got the 2-colour version, then you're getting the best of both worlds. And sorcery speed, slightly more cards, sorcery cards. You've got usual things, library manipulation, damage prevention, sorcery speed, black destruction. These sort of cards as well that where you lose 1 life and you gain 1 life, like drain type spell. Oh yeah, graveyard manipulation. There's our Vindicate, which is a sorcery speed destruction spell, white black. So green blue bounce spell actually. And 69 creatures, which many of these we've seen already in various guises. So just to quickly see, because I did mention about those particular cards earlier on, which act as what would you call it? I'm trying to think of the term now generally that you sometimes see in Magic. So here I'm thinking of envoys here, but in different sets they have different names. But it's a form of tutoring, but with sort of various twists on it. So I'm just curious. See, in white it was soldiers. In blue it was merfolk, wasn't it? Yeah, so we got quite a number of merfolk at all various rarities. There were zombies in black. There was an envoy for that. The red one was actually goblins, of which I don't see. Well, I see one in mono red. And then the green was elves. There's a couple there, but of course, as I pointed out before, we got these hybrid creatures in the 2 enemy colours. What did I do here? Oh, this is enchantments. Yeah, I'm just making sure I've got. This is probably a thing I'm going to start doing, where I just slice through the different types of cards if I think it's worth doing. In this set I was curious because we've looked at previous sets and seen quite a lot of enchantments, and I just wondered how many enchantments are in here. So we've got 26, and they seem to be, well, it's all over the shop I suppose. Some colour it's common and uncommon, other colours it looks like higher rarities. So there's no equality over the rarities of enchantments. It's all over the place actually. And then artifacts. At this point in Magic, you tended to always see artifacts at the higher rarities. So uncommon and above. So we've got legacy weapons in here, which has a activation cost with all 5 colours. Brass Herald was in this set. Mask of Intolerance. Dodecapod. 4 to cast, 3 3. If a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard the Dodecapod from your hand, put it into play with 2 +1/+1 counters on it instead of putting it into your graveyard. Cool. It's interesting to see some of the variety in here of stuff you don't always see. Okay, so these are our legendaries. We've got Gerard Capuchin, I think that is. 3, 2 white, 3/4 creature legend. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life for each card in target opponent's hand. 3 and a white, target tap target creature, play this ability only if Gerard Capuchin is attacking. Chromats in the set. Interesting 5-colour commander. Lots of interesting utility here in the enemy colours. So Wooburg to cast. 5 gives you a 5/5, but you've got all these interesting abilities. But Chromat doesn't tap for any of them. So the white-black one, destroy target creature blocking or blocked by Chromat. Blue-red, Chromat gains flying until end of turn. Black-green, regenerate Chromat. The red-white's interesting because of that you can, invest multiple times and pump it multiple times. So some of these you can't really use, even though you don't have to pump Chromat. Obviously it makes no sense. That's the case with things like flying. But I suppose, that would be useful if Chromat was being double blocked. You could do that again and again. But with some of these, you don't really make any sense to like double regenerate Chromat. It's just for templating reasons. It makes sense to do it that way rather than have other stuff going on. It also gives a lot more flexibility as well because it doesn't matter, like I said, if Chromat's tapped or not tapped. So, and Legacy Weapon, 7 to cast. Wooburg, remove target permanent from the game. If Legacy Weapon will be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Legacy Weapon and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. So it keeps coming back. I always come back here just to the set generally, in case there's anything majorly I've forgotten. I think one of the things I wanted to do, the different types of spell slice through, is then it's easier to pick up all the instant speed utility stuff and other cards that tend to crop up across the different colours in sets. So I don't think there's anything here I really need to add for this. I'm just going to just quickly scroll through. Just so you can get a feel for the artwork, because we know, I've mentioned this and various people have commented about that, about artwork consistency. Again, we're seeing it in here. You get a few which look a bit different than that looks a little bit old school. Okay, so in terms of prices, one thing you'll notice actually, if you look up the top here, let me scroll back up because it gives you some idea of what to expect. So 143 cards. I'm not sure where these prices come from, but that gives you some idea. If you were to buy each one of these individually from this source, that's what you would pay. So I'm not expecting to see anything eye-wateringly expensive. And so the most expensive card is Phyrexian Arena. It's $24, around about there. It's slightly cheaper in other versions. You can see it's been reprinted several times. I think the cheapest copy, well, if you exclude the gold border stuff, is 8th edition. It's different artwork here. It's interesting. I did notice this, I think because of the colour combination in the deck. If you've got that dual deck Phyrexia versus the Coalition, so the Coalition deck was a 5-colour deck, and as a consequence, I've noticed that there's been quite a few cards from this block that have ended up in this particular dual deck on the probably on the, well, either on the Phyrexian or the Coalition side. So yeah. Oh look, Vindicate. There we go. $23 for this copy. Eternal Masters, very cheap, but you don't get this nice sort of pseudo Star Wars artwork. Oh wow, Modern Horizons. That is a lot different in the price. Pernicious Deed, $11. was reprinted in Masters 25 and Conspiracy. What's the Judge promo? Okay. Oh, and here we go. Yeah. These will probably be clustered together. So, there you go. All these ones that deal 1 damage. All the enemy coloured pain lands. And no surprise, been reprinted several times. In Commander as well, look. And in the core sets. They did get reprinted pre-Commander in core sets. You can see 10th, 9th, Magic 2015, Magic Origins. So yeah, they're all hovering around $10 mark for the Apocalypse version, but look at the price difference between that and the other ones. And then our old friend EDH. So we're looking at the EDH rec ranking here because it's just nice and easy. And usual suspects. Interestingly as well, you get this sometimes where you see, you know, similarities between what's in the sort of say top 10 cards in terms of price and what's in the top 10 cards in terms of EDH. And you know, I'm assuming that, you know, that for certain sets you're going to see that. So one of the reasons why they're more expensive is because there's a tendency for them to be played in Commander, and people like, you know, the original artwork. You know, there might be other reasons as well. I mean, sometimes you get sets where it's just there because it's, you know, it's in a lot of eternal formats as well. But it's always interesting to see where there's fairly close mapping here. So we're seeing the 5 pain lands, Phyrexian Arena and Vindicate and Pernicious Deed. Anything interesting here? So with Phyrexian Arena, I imagine what's the distribution like? 47,947 decks. And yeah, mainly mono black. But yeah. Cool. Okay, it was interesting to see that. So thanks once again. In terms of what's coming up this week, we're in this new sort of format where, you know, this is Apocalypse Week. So we've got the set musings, and then we're going to have our episode of the Deck Durdle, and then we're going to have our episode of Commander Fodder, where I'm going to pick one of the decks. I've already picked it. I could show you that. I won't go in and just see what I've additionally seeded it with, but at the moment, and this won't be changing, I've chosen to use the Pandemonium deck, and I'll explain a little bit about what I did there in terms of colours. Yeah, so, and when I do the episode, I'll go through the individual theme decks there at that point. Anyway, once again, yes, thanks for watching, and bye for now.